Good day and welcome to another episode of the Vigilante Dialogues. I'm your host, Shaina Smith Archer, inviting you to the National Boardroom. If you are new to our program, Vigilante is the Virgin Islands national motto, and it means to be watchful. Our mission is to have a dialogue or conversations about the issues affecting our quality of life and, more importantly, how we solve them. The Vigilante Dialogues is broadcast live here on Facebook and YouTube on the first and third Thursdays at 7:30 p.m. and replayed on CBN Radio FM 90.9 here in the Virgin Islands. Today's topic, we're continuing on the theme of women. March is the US's Women's History Month, and last week we celebrated International Women's Day. Excuse me. On March 8th, and the theme is Break the Bias. So, in line with the conversation in terms of the focus on women, what I wanted for us to do this evening was to have a few sister friends join me in talking about how we keep our spirits, souls, and bodies healthy. There's so much going on, and I reached out to our community health unit and was asking for some statistics, which I still have to research. But we all know that there are so many challenges, I would say, health challenges that are affecting us as a community, and especially us as women. So what he shared with me was, about issues such as endometriosis, cancers, fertility issues, chronic diseases, and so on and so forth. So I got the experts to tell us, how do we avoid this stuff? Because we know we as women sometimes we don't take care of ourselves to the degree, I would say, and the level that we should. So we need to always constantly, I think, be reminding ourselves the importance of our health, and that it is not just health for ourselves physically, but we are tripart beings. So we have a spirit as well as our soul, which is our mind and our emotions, that we should also be taking very good care of. So I'm going to let my guests now introduce themselves without any further ado, starting with my good friend, Miss Marva.
Yay, good evening, everyone. My name is Marva Titley-Smith, and I am a work and life coach, a management consultant, and a wearer of many hats, as many women are. And I'm just thrilled to be here to join this conversation this evening to really focus on how we as women can improve the way we take care of ourselves and therefore be able to give back to community as well, to our families, and to meet the needs to fulfill the purpose that we've been put here to do. So I'm excited to jump in.
Great. Awesome. Thank you, Marva. And Dr. George, you are no stranger to the Vigilante Dialogues.
Good to be back. Thank you so much for the invite, Ms. Shaina. And good evening, everyone. I'm Dr. Cindy George, and I am the director of Samarch Counseling and Consultation, a private practice. And as you know, Mrs. Titley-Smith said, we're here to just share information, share our knowledge, and really help persons in our community to improve their mental health, improve their wellness, and just overall living. And so I'm excited about the discussion this evening and looking forward to it. Thank you again for having me.
And thank you for accepting. Great.
Oh, my pleasure.
And Miss Sasha.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Sasha Creque. I am the founder of Adagio Dance School. I am also a certified Pilates instructor, certified flexologist, as they call me. I'm also certified in gymnastics and an array of other things that you may not have a lot of time to listen to, but hopefully they will probably come up in this discussion. I am so honored to be a part of this lovely panel. And Shaina, thank you so much for inviting me. And I look forward to this lovely chat.
Thank you. And last but not least, my sister June.
Hi, good night, everyone. Can you hear me? You can hear me.
You go ahead.
All right. So, yes, thank you for having me, Shaina. It's good to be here. So I am June Samuel. I'm a psychiatrist by training, and more recently doing certification in mind body medicine. So I am here to join in on the conversation about holistic health and how we can look after ourselves in a more comprehensive and holistic manner. So I'm excited about the conversation tonight. Thanks, Shayna.
Thank you. All right. Well, I think we have all the right people in the room tonight. So we're gonna jump right into it. And let's talk about we often know about when we think we know, I should say, when we're in a healthy state. And I think that's what I want to start off with. And Dr. Samuel, you and I have spoken about this in terms of, I guess, what the World Health Organization definition of health is. Um, Give us the short version because it's like a paragraph or a sentence. So let's start with that before we start talking about really and truly, how we achieve health and maintain it. What is a healthy state for us as a person, a human being?
So I think the key from the World Health Organization definition is that we have to see health as not just the absence of disease. And very often when we think health, we actually are thinking ill health. When people hear health, they're actually thinking ill health. But health really is not just about the absence of disease, but it is about how we coexist in all of the areas that affect us. So it's about our psychological health, or emotional health, physical health, social health, and economic health.
Yeah.
So all of those things play into what's happening in our environment. All of those things play into us being in a state of health and wellness. So that's essentially an explanation of what the definition says.
In the short version. So
In
in
short.
other words, I can be a flexologist like Sasha, but then I'm experiencing a lot of mental health issues. So then am I really healthy, or is that I'm partially healthy? How do we define it?
Or you can be a flexologist, or even you can be into wellness, but if
Mhm.
your relationships are not working, if the way you're interacting with other people is not working, or you're living in an environment that is toxic
Yeah.
in any way, then you're not really healthy. And I think it's about looking at how all of these various pieces
Mhm.
actually contribute to our overall health.
Okay.
Dr. Potter used to like to say, we have to look at where we live, where we work, and where we play,
Mhm.
right? And if we look at all of those areas, we must be in a state of wholeness in those areas to really be healthy.
Okay. And I'm glad you used that word with wholeness. We're gonna definitely try to have that as a takeaway this evening because as Marva opened up and talk about the many hats that she wears, and she only has one head. So somehow we as women, I don't know, we're gonna talk about that, I guess, too, in our conversation on how we've been groomed or reared to always be multitasking or performing these multiple roles, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. The challenge comes when, it becomes too much. So, Marva, I don't know if you mentioned at the beginning about your devotional that you published last year. So, let's start there in terms of our spirit and talking about spiritual health and the importance of that. And I know everything is interconnected, so you're gonna end up touching on the emotions and other things, but let's start there with the conversation.
Sure. Yeah, so I published my latest book. It's called Time to Thrive, a busy woman's devotional journal. And while it's a devotional book, it actually touches on 8 core life areas. So, all the things that we're talking about this evening, your physical health, your mental health, your financial health, just all these things. Because what I've found in my own life and in the lives of women that I coach and mentor is that we have a tendency to, as Dr. Samuel said, maybe we're thriving in one area of our lives, but then at the cost, at the sacrifice of maybe another area. So we might be doing well at work, but our home life is suffering, or we're making the money, but we're totally stressed out. So in my Time to Thrive devotional, what I sought to do was to give women the encouragement to thrive in all the areas from a biblical perspective, looking at what does the Bible say about your finances, and what does the Bible say about your health, and so that we can find that encouragement and recognize that it's not just one facet, it's the entire thing. It's all of our different aspects working together that will make us whole, will make us healthy, and will help us to thrive.
And Shaina, you're muted.
I'm sorry.
It's
Yeah.
okay.
Before,
It happens every time.
right, but before you jump in, Shaina, I
Go right
just have
ahead.
to give Marva's kudos, right?
Mm-hmm.
So because I'm using the devotional,
Mm-hmm.
and I've recommended it to several persons, women. And it is actually what I really like about it. It's really a devotional for busy women. It doesn't
Mm-hmm.
take a lot of time, but I like the way that it connects everything, all of the various pieces. And that is so important. I can't, Dr. George will talk about that just now, but it's so important to connect all of the pieces, because
Mm-hmm.
so often we live as if we are divided.
Separate. Yeah.
So I'm Dr. Samuel here, I'm mommy at home, and I'm June to my brothers. No, I'm one person, and it's
Yes.
all interconnected, and we have to find a way to bring it all together. And that's what Marva, excellent. I'm looking for the part two of the book. Okay, thank you.
Miss Samuels, you definitely bought me with that now, because I will definitely have to take up a copy of it as well and make sure that it's signed to me, because I like to keep memorabilia. So, but one of the major things that I just wanted to jump in, if I can, um, like wearing a lot of hats. I have been there, I've done it, and one of the words that I have, like, tried to instill in myself, or at least try to make sure that I say it all the time within my mantras, is balance. You have to have that balance. That balance is like so much,
Mhm,
because at the end of the day, like if you're doing this, you're doing that, like where does the balance come in?
mhm,
You know?
mhm.
So that's just my little 2 cents there.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But I'm serious about that book though.
We'll make it happen, Sasha.
Yeah.
Get
Yes.
the book. Get the book.
Yeah, I have to get my copy as well. But June isn't kidding. She was a testimony what few weeks back. We were having our conversation and she was sharing one of the devotions that morning. Apparently, that was very impactful to her.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
I was like, this sounds like good stuff. I have to call up Marva and tell her I need to get a copy of this book. So
Yes, yes.
I
And
have
my
to.
mantra, my mantra when I speak to women now is, well, I used to say it before, but I was so happy to see Marva use it. We shouldn't just be existing. And a lot of times that's what we do. I don't want to say as women, but yeah, as women, we
Mm-hmm.
just exist every day. Oh, how are you doing? I'm here. I'm okay. No, 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 no. We need to thrive.
Yeah.
And really, I think from that perspective, when you look at it like that, it then helps you to understand why you have to connect all the pieces.
Mhm.
Yeah. And the
Yeah.
importance of it. Dr. George, you want to jump right in there?
Yeah, yeah.
Let's deal
No,
with that.
I all great definitions of healthy and being healthy. I think that one of the things that we do forget, and I like what Dr. Samuel said in terms of our relationships, because that's my area,
Yeah.
and in terms of really being able to define our roles within the relationships that we have, define our role as parent, define our role as spouse, employee, or whatever the case is. And I think Mrs. Creaky made an excellent point with the word balance. That's really what it's about, and thinking of all of those components. There's this thing that I use with my clients, and it's called the wellness wheel, and I know you guys have heard of that. And it's as Dr. Samuel said, it encompasses all of those things. The social, the financial, physical. And it's so amazing, how when you commit yourself to each of those components,
Mhm.
you just live such a healthy life, because it's really about balancing all of those things. But I definitely don't want us to forget not just the self, but our relationships with other
Mhm.
people.
Yeah.
Thank you for bringing that up. The relationship with other people is so important, and being able to define those roles,
Mhm.
to meet your needs, and to define those roles in terms of your comfort level and in terms of expectations. And I can go on and on. But just, I think you understand what I'm saying in terms of relationships really being healthy, because we talk about having healthy, for ourselves, but those relationships need to be healthy in order for us to be healthy as well,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
having that balance within our lives. So yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And that is so key, because again, when things aren't right in our relationships, especially
Mhm.
those close relationships,
Mhm.
it affects us mentally, emotionally. Sometimes it shows up physically in our bodies, and even spiritually, because you feel like off balance, so to speak,
Yeah.
Mhm.
in a way. So okay, so I think we touched now, so we get a good sense in terms of balance. Wholeness is very important, and it's not just about ourselves, because that's where it starts, but then ensuring that the connectivity or the connections that we have with others is also important for us to maintain. What are some of the negative habits that we need to break as women, apart from trying to do all?
I was going to say that.
What would you guys say?
That would
Well,
be
again,
another thing.
That needs
personal
to be the
experience
that
was.
needs to be the first one
Yeah,
to
yeah,
say.
That's almost a given.
So
Yeah,
that
that's a
way.
given.
we do everything,
Yeah,
absolutely.
we try
Yeah,
to
Yeah.
do everything.
yeah. But I do think, we give, and a lot of times as women we go, I give to my husband, I give to my children, I give to this, I give to that. But what about you, right? What about you? And it's that focus on the self care. I
Yeah,
think we forget that. We forget that we need to focus on us as well. I think we think if we keep a good home, if we, make sure the kids are educated well, make sure we have, our friends are, expectations are met from our friends. And I think the things that we need to recognize is that we can't meet all the expectations of everyone all the time.
hmm
um, and we try to do that, and that's where we run ourselves ragged.
yeah,
So in addition to, wanting to do everything for everyone, we need to do that self-care, because we don't do that enough. We don't do that enough as women. And I guess we can talk some more about what that means, but
yeah,
just focusing on the self, focusing on you,
hmm
mindfulness, and just really, reflecting. A lot of times if we stop to think about, well, what am I feeling? What am I thinking about a particular situation, my relationship with my husband, my position at work? And if we reflect on those things, it helps us to make the right changes in our lives.
yeah,
But we don't do that. We don't reflect. And reflecting is such an important thing to get us to where we need to be.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
You know,
again,
Dr. George is quite right, and I want to even go back even further because I don't know about you guys, well, about you, but my thing is we are in a lot of these places because of our experiences. So
Mhm.
we grow up, we're socialized.
Mhm.
I had two brothers. Okay, so the girl did everything, quite domesticated, right?
Mm.
you in the middle, or you the oldest?
I'm the eldest.
Oh, you're the eldest. Okay.
Yeah, so you do everything, right? And that is the way we were socialized. We saw our moms did, they did everything.
hmm
Then we were taught that we had to do everything. We had to take care of everybody.
Mm.
And I don't remember seeing, my mom doing self-care in that sense. They gave and gave and gave. She gave and gave and gave. So you grow up thinking that, okay, that's the way to be.
Yeah.
And so what I find in even in my practice now is this is something you have to teach persons how to do. Oh
Mhm.
my goodness, and you have to get across the obstacle of I don't have the time. I'm like, yes, you do. We all have the same amount of time, right? And it's I've even gotten to the place now where we do exercises. So we break down the days and we look at what you're doing each day. And
Mhm.
then we say, okay, you don't have to do this particular thing every single day. Take that out and take 10 minutes for yourself. But it is actually something that I find that we have to teach persons how to do. I have to
Mhm.
teach women this.
Yeah.
So, it's about how we live what we have learned and how we now need to unlearn some of those things to get to a place of being, in a better space from a health perspective.
Mhm. Mhm.
Definitely.
I agree.
So,
If I,
Sasha,
sorry,
go
yeah,
ahead.
if I may. So, Dr. June Samuels, thank you so much for that. Because honestly, it was like you're speaking to me for my daughter, if that makes sense. Because ideally, what I try to do is instill in my children now, is to schedule things accordingly. You have a lot of things going on for you. You're watching TV, you're wanting to be on the phone, you wanted to out do a report, you have this, you have that. Get a calendar. And then then she counters like, oh well, guess what, I'm not able to do that. Okay, well, let's be smart about it. You have a smartphone. Put the information in your calendar, set reminders for yourself. That way you'll have a lot of time in order to do the things that you want to do, or at that, focus on the things that you want to do more than the others, or what have you know so this is something that we need to do, break that cycle.
Mhm.
Because I grew up in a home where my mother, like yours, Ms. June Samuel, well, doctor, sorry, my mom was working, and when she came home, she still works, as in like picking up after us sometimes. She's out and about doing us like making orders. That's like when orders were like done in the books, and you had to mail them out and all that for other people. And she was just like doing all of this, and then at the end of the time, at the end of the day, I'm sorry, she didn't have time for us. When I wanted to play with her, when I wanted her to help me with my homework, she had no time at all. She just wanted to crash out. And I just think that that's one of the main things that we need to start breaking, or at least breaking into our children,
Mhm.
from now on. Like, just utilize the information or whatever tools that you have now. The internet is at your disposal. You have people who are willing to help you, but you just have to make the initiative in order to ask questions. And I'm sure that you'll get on just fine.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, Sasha, while you're on the floor, talk to us about our physical health, because again, that's probably
Oh,
one of the biggest things we tend to say we don't have time to do. What are some of the
yeah.
negative habits there that we need to deal with?
Do we have enough time? One of the things that I have learned is not to procrastinate. This is a major killer of a lot of things that we do, or at least, like, in terms of, like, our physical well-being and everything. We are procrastinating about going to the gym. We're procrastinating about changing the way that we eat and all that stuff. How we pretty much, like, be in tune with ourselves. Now, for me, if I may share with you, like, what my daily routine is like pretty much like waking up in the morning, having some tea, of course, and then going into my meditation. I do a good bit of meditation, and that has helped so much. It soothes you, it centers you to the point where it's like, wow, I'm feeling fully recharged. I'm ready to take on the day. Then I go to the gym. I have a good workout there, probably an hour, hour and a half, depending on how I feel. And then when I get home, I feel pumped. I can definitely take on the day even more. So I just think that, again, it's like just going back to being organized, just being in a position where you can definitely say, yeah, okay, this can work for me at this particular time. Let me try to make this work. If it doesn't, just rearrange and just keep rearranging until it works for you. So in terms of like help now, in well, my flexology advice, it's just really and truly flexibility. I see to try to fit that in. Flexibility in terms of stretching, it goes a long way. In terms of our physical well-being, we're always going, we're sitting at desk all the time, we're and not realizing that we're doing so much harm in terms of, like, our spine, sorry, at that. Get up, do some walk, get into stretching, at least like what, 10-15 minutes out of the day would not hurt at all, in order to try to build a stretching routine in. And in terms of like eating, I am not a nutritionist, but hopefully one of the other ladies on here can help. But in terms of like healthy eating, Honestly, we have had our struggles. Why? Because this is what we know. Again, it comes from childhood. We are accustomed to that oxtail, that sweet potato, and well, I'm not saying sweet potato bad, but potato salads and all these fattening, saturated stuff. Sugar, can't get enough of it, but at the end of the day, just taper off. Rome was not built in a day. Take your time and digress. It will be to your benefit. When we're on all of these, like, sugary stuff and whatnot, it's only for a moment and then you crash out later. So, honestly speaking, it's about trying to take on what it is that you know you can handle and just taper off. Take your time and drink a
Yeah,
lot of water.
and
Water is
gradually. That's another habit from a physical well-being standpoint. I find a lot of women, we don't make time for water at all.
No, but
Some of
Sasha
us,
Flax has some really good bottles. I'll tell you that. Much I've had, like, the courtesy of purchasing one from her, where it's like it just sets. It's pretty much a reminder, a physical reminder, for you to take the water and all that stuff. If we could drink juice, we can drink water. Make
mhm.
time for that. And
So
if that doesn't work, just put some lemon or lime in there, and it will help.
something to add a little flavor,
Yeah.
something that helps. All right, so we've touched on well-being. We haven't touched on emotional and mental. So, Doc, what are some of the bad habits? Either I guess Dr. Samuel or Dr. George, that you see us as women that we have to break.
Um, yeah.
Yeah, go
well,
ahead.
I think we have talked about some of them previously in terms of things that we need to change. But I also would want to also add, I think, the pressure and expectations are two things that I think for us as women, going back to what we said in terms of the many hats and the many roles that we have, we put a lot of pressure on ourselves to be perfect or to meet expectations of others that others have set, and then that pressure leads to stress because we know that stress is the pressure that we put on ourselves to accomplish something, and then if that thing that we are wanting to accomplish. Let's say, for example, a mother might put pressure on herself to really keep the home well and be able to balance up a balance, but it's just not working because maybe she not have the appropriate coping strategies or coping skills. And so that pressure continues because whether she has imposed the expectation on herself or others have, then she feels stressed out. And that stress then leads to anxiety
Yeah.
because the pressure isn't being relieved. And then of course if you're anxious, then that's going to turn to what? Worry, and I feel so overwhelmed, I'm so stressed out, then that leads to what? Depression, right? Because then depression comes because you're not getting the stress removed, the
Mm,
stressor is not being removed. And so I think it all goes down to having realistic expectations, realistic goals that we want to set for ourselves as women. Yes, we want to accomplish things and we want to be good in the roles that we have, but we want to also understand that these have to be realistic and to pull back on the pressure that we put on ourselves to meet these goals that we have in our relationships and just in our lives in general.
yeah. Yeah,
One
the
of yeah, one of
expectations is a
the
big one.
expectations is a big one. Cindy is
Mhm.
correct. And again, it goes back to what we think persons expect of us or perception
Mhm,
of that.
mhm, mhm,
Um, More recently, what I've been using with quite a number of my patients is, because Marva, you know that we're a religious society, right? So I use the greatest commandment in the Bible. Love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, with all thy mind, with all thy soul. And then love who? Thy neighbor as who?
Yes,
Thyself,
yourself.
Yes,
right? So next to loving God, we gotta love ourselves. And
mhm,
that self-love is something I think we've been socialized to think that it's selfish when we think of loving self, looking
mhm,
after self first,
mhm,
right? We get these subliminal messages that says, "Oh, that's being selfish. You have to look out for other people." But
mhm,
no, you gotta look out for yourself first. You have to love yourself first. And the way that I try to help persons to understand is if you start at that place of loving yourself first, then it helps you to transition to the good habits that you need to get into because you love yourself. So the sugary things, well, do I really want to put that into my body and I know that it's not good for me? Um, do I want to overschedule myself? I mean, I'm working on that still, but do I want to overschedule
I
something?
think we all
Join
are.
the club.
All of us, right?
I think we all are.
Right? So, but start with self love, um, and then how do we practice that every day?
Yeah.
Because guess what? If we don't think that we are valuable enough for that, we're not going to take the time out to do the mindfulness, to do the meditation, to do the exercise. We're not, because in our heads, I have to look after everybody else first. So
Yeah.
that's a particular bad habit that I think we have to help persons with.
Yeah.
And then that can, morph into all of the other healthy things that we need to be doing for ourselves.
So is that what we call the martyrdom syndrome? We're basically sacrificing ourselves because it's like it's one thing to look out for others, but then it's like you're literally sacrificing yourself.
Mhm.
That's what's that called? I'm asking the doctors now. I see the heads
Oh,
not.
well, I guess that's what it's called. Cindy, is that what it's called?
She said martyr.
Yeah,
Martyrdom
Yeah.
yeah,
syndrome.
But I think that's something that we utilize in our society when we sacrifice ourselves, as like you say, for others. Uh,
Mhm.
I don't know if it's a clinical term. I don't know.
I know.
But,
Well, I know
but
in terms of I use it sometimes in terms of
mhm,
describing certain things because people will tell you, you know, they put in all these hours and it took a lot of sacrifice for them to accomplish something.
mhm,
And sometimes I feel that it's a way of kind of like looking for accolades, right?
mhm,
But it's like if you're doing something at the expense of yourself, that's
Mm.
not a good thing. I can't applaud you for that.
Mm.
And like we are saying, we've been socialized, especially as Caribbean women, where we've always been told to put others first or making sure that the needs of others are taken care of. And again, if you have that responsibility, that's a given, but it's at what cost? Because
Yeah.
I remember when I first moved home. I guess this was like, no, this wouldn't have been the beginning of my professional career. When I came home as a senior project officer back in 2003 and started working in the Ministry of Finance, and it's like, work will never end unless I say, it's
Yeah.
time to go home, and it's after
mhm,
7 o'clock. So it's like sun has already gone down, and you're just coming out of the government administration complex. And I remember having to sleep a week on my couch because I burnt myself out.
Mm.
'Cause we're trying to do all this stuff and getting things done, and
Mhm.
people are applauding you, and we have that sometimes the incentive in terms of performance, um, pushing us, but it's not a healthy thing. That's the thing we really want to make sure that people take away tonight in terms of you know helping others and putting others before yourself, at the cost of yourself is not a good thing.
Mhm.
Then that's
Not at
that's
all.
that's what I feel about.
And if I may, because and I'm gonna be a little bit candid about this, because last year was a trialing time for me. Reason being is because I wore many hats, was like working on a full-time job, still managing a business, or at least two other businesses at that time. And I'm having to do this, do that, take care of the kids and everything. And I got to the point where I was like, whoa, this is too much. And I broke down, literally went into well, at least I had anxiety attacks. A lot of persons don't really like to speak up about them, but this is one thing that I constantly share, because you never know who might be going through it. But I had anxiety attacks, and where there's anxiety, there's not too far depression. So I was totally depressed, and it took some time for me to try to deal with it. I would say, like, having to let go of pride, reach out to somebody who can help. That is one of the major things that I find as Caribbean women. It's like, oh wow, we're not going to bother other people with our problems and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, you don't know what that person might go through, or maybe they might be going through something similar or probably even worse. And it's just like a moment in order to take the opportunity to help raise your sister up, and be that support that you need for each other. So it was just to a point as well, like where it was not too far of being suicidal, but he's having suicidal thoughts. And this is one of the things that people don't understand. It's like you're in this position, you're doing this. It's like you have to keep up this. I wouldn't want to say facade, but it's like you're out there having to be somebody's mom, somebody's like worker, somebody's
Yeah.
this, that supporter, and you're on the inside just falling apart, And I just think that if we would like within this society, just come forward. There are many groups. I know Win BVI is one of them here in the BVI. They're very supportive, and honestly I applaud the work that they do. But yeah, I mean, just say something, and don't ever think that for a moment that we will shun you to the side or anyone will shun you to the side. And I just think that that's one of the things that we need to do, just get rid of pride.
Yeah.
Speak.
So not asking for help. That's another habit we need to put down.
Oh yeah.
And
Yep.
it's okay not to be okay. It's
Yeah.
okay not to be feeling okay. We don't
Yeah.
feel okay all of the time, and it's okay to break down and talk to somebody. It's
Exactly.
important. Cindy will tell you about the importance of having a support group. You have to have
Oh
a
yeah.
support group. Who is your support
Yeah.
group? I tell people
Yep.
five. There should be five persons
Yeah.
in your group that you
Oh
can
yeah.
think of, that you can turn to, right? But
Yep.
it's okay. You don't have to be strong all the time. We're not strong all the time, and it's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. A lesson definitely learned, and I definitely do have a very strong support group. Thank God for them.
Yeah.
But yeah, but for others who may be listening and all that, I just think that that is something beneficial
Yeah.
to take away. It's okay. We're all humans.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and
But go ahead, Doc.
sorry, and I just wanted to add one more thing about the support and having those support group and having those people in your life. But I want to say to the people that are in your life that are supporting you, just listen, because a lot of times you just got the person just wants to know that you hear them.
Hmm.
They
Exactly.
just want to know that you heard me. Yes, you acknowledge, oh, okay, yeah, I hear what you say, you're feeling a little down, but they really need you to listen and to be able to give that sense of empathy. That's a term that we use in mental health to really be able to show empathy to your clients. And in support groups, you need that as well. And
Yeah.
so, not just being there, picking up the phone and listening to what they have to say, but really
Hmm.
hearing them and showing that empathy and just letting them know that you're listening to them. It's so important. Just wanted to add that piece.
Yeah.
And I know
That's a good
Marva is
point.
going to jump in, right, Marva? But before Marva jumps in, so again, as Sasha was saying, lesson learned. So the support group,
Hmm.
um, you do not have to be superwoman, right? We are not super women. So, one of the things I've learned, for example, I have different people who support me in different areas.
Hmm.
Okay. I have a 12-year-old son who has after school activities. He has homework, he has projects. I'm not a project person. So I have somebody who works with him on his project, okay, because I know that's not me. I have somebody who helps him with math because I'm not a math person. So, it's about having these persons who, you can help with all of the responsibilities that you do have, because
Yeah.
again, we're not super women, and
Hmm.
that's okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think too, even, and I guess Mara, you can speak to this, even whether you're single or married, I think all that we talked about tonight applies, because sometimes we tend to think single people don't have any issues. Whereas, when you get married, it's, all everything breaks loose, and that type of behavior, because that was also something for me that I had to learn. Where again, because you feel like you're not single, like, so you don't have a family, quote unquote. Meanwhile, I was being a very bad daughter, very bad sister, very bad aunt, And I think for me, when it came to time, one of the things, because I was taking it for granted, was that when my niece was like, Auntie, we don't see you. I don't know when last I see you. And I live right downstairs, you know, because again, I'm getting home. Yeah, exactly, Sasha. That's how bad it was. Because I'm getting home when they're to bed. Because this is when they were very young. So again, I'm
Yeah.
taking it for granted. I'm a single person. I think I was dating at the time. So I used to get cursed out all the time about that. I'm being really transparent and like, because it's like we take it for granted. Again, like we opened up and spoke about our relationship. I mean, from the oldest to the youngest, to say that these are the things that help keep us grounded. So it was about turn for me when when she said it, that's when it really hit me because nobody else wouldn't really say it to say, well, we don't see you, you're not spending time anymore with us, what's happening. And I was like, okay, this can't continue. So, Marva, anything to add? And then we'll start to talk about how we teach our young women or girls even to build good and healthy habits from a very early age, because one of the things that concerns me is the child obesity that I see. And I know the doctors can also bear me out in terms of, again, the mental issues, emotional issues that are showing up younger and younger in our population.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many things I can touch on here because every time somebody makes a point, I want to jump in and add to it because I think a lot of us can relate to the things that are being said. And I also want to throw into the mix the concept of priorities because we talk about balance, but I think sometimes when we talk about balance, it can feel like it's unattainable because you have so many different things going on in your life. You don't even know how to, deal with all of them, and we all are at different seasons in our lives. Shayna mentioned whether you're married or not married, or you have children or not, or you have this job or that. We have different seasons, different circumstances. It's really a matter of looking at what's important to you in the season of life that you're in, and then being able to prioritize around those things so that you're not comparing yourself to the woman who is in a different situation and you're feeling bad about yourself because you're not getting your life managed and all these things, and you feel all the negative emotions start to play. But instead, just being able to say, okay, what season am I in now? What's important in my life? How can I balance the things that I have, prioritize what needs to be prioritized so that you're not failing as auntie, and the all the things that you
Yeah.
have to do because it's just too much. The other thing I wanted to throw in here too is just giving each other permission, as I
Mhm.
think Dr. Samuel said, to be. It's not okay that
Yeah.
you have a bad day, and sometimes you have a bad week and a bad month, because life happens. And to be fair, if you're here in the Virgin Islands and anywhere in the world, we've had a lot going on for a long time.
Mhm.
We've had the pandemic for the past 2 years. Prior to that, we were coming out of recovery after the hurricane. And it's just so many things that we've been dealing with on a territorial level, on a global scale, and then add to it your own personal issues. So
Mhm.
just being able to rally around each other and say, you know what, it's okay. You don't have to have it all together. You don't have to do it all. It's okay. We can get through this together, and having that support system. So yeah, like I said, so many things. I'm loving the conversation.
I think one of the things to also throw in at this point, in terms of what you just said, Marva, is the definition of resilience. Because again, it's been overused in the last 4 years. And again, it's something where we've basically thrown ourselves across the road and wondering why the cars are running over us, because we haven't stopped to understand resilience isn't just about, sucking things up and moving forward in spite of, but also, again, trying to understand what are our priorities, what's required of me now, are these realistic expectations that are being called upon me, and how can I best meet them. And sometimes no is a full sentence. you know
Yep.
we tend to, again, want to please people, and I know for me that was one of the things that I had to overcome, where I had grown up with so many people's expectations always on you, it becomes something now kind of inherent in your own mindsets, that you're always trying to please people and not realizing you're suppressing your own true emotions in terms of how you feel about a particular thing, or what it is that you should be doing. So yeah, we really have to understand resilience. At least from tonight's conversation, isn't just about one thing or another, and how easy you bounce back from, setbacks or disappointments, or situations where we lost loved ones, from the hurricane as well as with the pandemic. So it was really a lot going on locally here in our community that we may have been taking for granted. And again, like I was saying earlier, a lot of us look okay, but we might be on antidepressants because where something else is going on that we need to address. And it just might be that it is being addressed, and that's definitely a good thing. But we tend to, because of the stigmas and the stereotype now, we kind of suffer in silence, and we don't feel supported when we do share that this is what's happening. So I do hope that we are able to break the cycle now, because that's one of the things for me that's very important, that we now recognize, okay, this is how granny did it, this is how mommy did it, and auntie. So it wasn't necessarily the best example. Or how do we improve on that? What is it that we really need to be passing on to our girls and our teenagers especially, about how to keep themselves healthy, rather than after there's a problem then we kind of react. And you know me, I like to be proactive. So how do we go about starting to teach them about that?
Yeah, I'll start with that one because I have teenagers now, and one happens to be a girl. And for me, it starts with modeling the behavior that I want her to be able to emulate, because I have to be transparent when I'm showing her that, you know what, mommy doesn't have it all together. I make mistakes, and being able to be real about that and saying, even when I have disappointments, this is what happened and this is how I felt. Instead of having that pretense that life is perfect and I have it all figured out, it's actually saying, no, I don't. And it's okay that I don't have it figured out, because there's someone who does. And so just modeling that for her is important to me, because I don't want her to feel that perfectionism is what she needs to be striving for.
Yeah, that's definitely key. So example set, example followed.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, okay. One last thing. I also wanted to add, I think definitely modeling is a great point, as Mrs. Smith indicated. I also want to add self value, self worth, because if we teach our girls that they are worthy, that they have value, it's just like if we value our car, we're going to wash it every day, we're going to get up, we're going to clean it, we're not going to drive in the potholes or anything like that. Yeah. So we
Mhm.
want to then, in modeling as well, and then just teaching them and showing them that they are valuable, they're special, they're unique, and they will then understand that and then be able to then take care of the self. Because
Yeah.
if we understand our value to ourselves, we will then be able to take care of ourselves. Yeah. And
Yeah.
so I just wanted to add that piece as well, teaching them self value and worth.
Value, self value.
Mhm.
Awesome.
Yep. And if I could chime in, one of the things that I do with my 3-year-old, my last child, is pretty much like what Dr. George said. Oh, sorry, Dr. Samuel said. Modeling, of course. Oh, sorry, that was Marva.
It's okay.
I'm looking from top to bottom. I'm so sorry. That was Marva. Definitely said modeling. So what I do also is get her into a routine. So that way, when she gets a little bit older, she's already set in that way. I definitely know I have this routine. I get up in the morning, and I always get her to repeat it, and then I
Mm.
get her to do the actions. Um, so at least she definitely understand that this is what is required of her. And she also joins me when I'm doing like some of my Pilates, as little as she
Okay.
is. I feel as like Caribbean parents, I think that we do not give our children enough credit because like we're easy to dismiss and say, oh, they're not going to be in understanding on how to do this or that, when in fact it's quite the opposite. Children learn so much, they absorb so much at this tender age, and if you're willing to work with them and spend time with them, then definitely you'll learn that. And one of the things that I have learned is that children, they teach as well. Listen to what they're saying and then try to help work on a dialogue on how to, like, get things resolved for them. And once you do that, then everything should be, in a setting where it will be easier for them in their later life.
As they get older. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And the good part about that also is that they have peers even at that young age.
Mhm.
And they will have conversations that we may not even think of that are happening. And they share, their good habits. And hopefully, again, it continues to spread throughout, and it might jump from family to family without where there may be a gap. So it's important that we understand that our children are very much active and live in their lives, just like we are as adults, and
Mhm.
can help to change the cycles that we need to break. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dr.
So, I
Samuel?
mean, I would add to what both Cindy and Marva said. The the self value, yes, and again, I go back to the self love. But the other thing that I would add is the self care. So, teaching our girls and boys that they should do self care. And self care is not just about, because I think they may be getting the message that self care is about, the hygiene, the bathing, this, that, the other.
The
Mhm.
spa.
But it's not that
The
only.
nail done.
It's important,
That's
but
true.
it's also about taking time out.
Hmm.
You need to take time out and sit in your feelings, understand what you're feeling. So learning how to introspect and reflect, and getting them to learn to communicate what they're feeling. Um, Meditation practices, teaching them just how to sit and manage their mind, you know. So
Yeah.
teaching them some of those practices early, saying prayers. We grew up saying prayers. Our parents taught us how to say prayers, and I've now come to the place where I value what that
Appreciate.
actually teaches you.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I say to people all the time, if we really pray properly, we're practicing mindfulness. The problem is
Hmm.
we don't pray properly. We usually talking to God and telling him, giving him a wish list, right? But we're not really mindfully praying.
Yeah.
So teaching them that and how to do that.
Yeah.
So all
Yeah.
of the self-care things, go and get a massage, go and do your facials. For the girls, yes, it's okay to go to and get your nails done, because all of those things add to the self value. I value me, I value
Mhm.
my body, I value my mind, and I am managing my feelings, and it gives them some skills that they can use as they get older.
Mhm.
So good.
Definitely. Definitely. And again, you're right in terms of saying we also have to make sure we're teaching them. We're doing it from the standpoint of not to just look good and be on standard with what is happening in your community, but you're doing it because you value yourself. So if you do it for nobody else and nobody else appreciates it, let it be that you're doing it for you because you understand that you are important. So that is so key. All right, ladies, like I warned you, our hour went very quickly. And if you just
Oh no.
you guys missed a very awesome conversation with my sister friends talking about how we as women need to make sure we're taking care of ourselves in a holistic way, our spirits, or minds, or emotions, and our physical body. So I'm going to let you guys, each person, give a closing word of encouragement, I would say, to well, let's say to the whole female sorority in terms of how we support each other now, in our care for ourselves as well as each other and our communities. Both
Oh,
straws. Dr. George.
Okay. Well, yeah, I think, everything that we said this evening really, I think, closes out with that you matter, right? You matter. You're important. Yes, you want to be there for your family, your husband, your children, employers, all of that, but you matter. And to really acknowledge that and to really just take care of you, just take care of you and value you as well. Yeah.
mhm. Yeah.
Thank you. Mara?
I'll continue with that to be able to say that you can make time to take care of you. You can make time to thrive. It doesn't have to take a lot of time. You don't have to, have a whole hour and a half to sit down and have your devotions or, meditate or you 5 minutes is a good place to start. 10 minutes is fine.
Mhm.
Just start where you are and be able to commit to taking care of you.
And if persons are interested in your book, where is it available?
It's available at the Nook bookstore in Newtown and on
Okay.
Amazon as well. So it's also in Kindle and paperback online.
Oh, yeah.
Great. All right. So we're all, for those of us who don't have this, June already got in front. We're gonna make sure that we get our copies.
Very
Awesome.
nice.
Dr. Samuel.
So what I would say is, as women, we are phenomenal. We are just awesome. We are God's gift to the world. I said to a group the other day that, when God created Adam, he looked at Adam and he said, "Oh, I could do a little better than that." And then he created you. So
I
we are
love it.
phenomenal. I just need us to understand that. But having said that, I need us to understand that we have to look after ourselves as if we're phenomenal, right? We have to love ourselves. We have to take care of ourselves. It is not selfish doing that because only by doing that and being our best selves can we then be there for other persons in our lives. So that's my encouragement. And get Marva's book. It's awesome.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right.
All right.
So,
Sasha.
what can I say that has not already been said? But all I just want to just let everybody know that having a bad day, having those times where you feel down and out is fine. Just take that moment, even if it's a moment to go into an enclosed area where nobody can bother you. Just go there. Whether it be within your own thoughts, as in what's the word, meditated, just go there, find that place where you can just find that release. Always make sure, of course, that you surround yourself with amazing people who are always going to uplift you, people who are not going to judge you because of what is going on within your life, or probably talk behind your back or anything of that sort. Find those people who can grow with you. Okay. And just be you, just be the person that, if not what you want to be for yourself, but what you would want your children to be in the future. So that's my part in, and thank you.
Okay. And if persons are interested in your Pilates classes or any of the
Oh,
other classes, you can mention how they can contact you.
oh yeah, for sure. My contact details is 499-5575. You can also find me on Facebook. I am a woman of many hats, and I trust that you will connect with me. And even if there's something that you want to talk about, I am here. I'm a good listener, and just know that we as women, we have to be within that circuit where we have to uplift each other. So
Hmm. Very key. And
mhm.
the good doctors also mentioned if persons want to seek you guys after hearing this conversation tonight, where how they can reach you. Dr. George?
Yes, yes. Persons can reach me on 346-0662. They can WhatsApp me there. And I do online counseling, very convenient. You don't have to have a link or any kind of password or anything. It's just, you just log on to my online office and I'll be there. Yes.
Awesome.
Thank
Dr.
you.
Samuel?
Right. So I am at Five Doctors Medical and Wellness Services, and I'm located in Port Purcell in the Cedar House. And you can call me at 345-1591 or 494-1317. And we provide both in person, we do teleservices, telehealth services, we provide home visits, family assessments. So, just link up with us and we will assist you in any way that we can.
Great. I want to thank you all again for this rich conversation. I'm sure people took away so many nuggets, and sometimes we know a lot of this, but it's good to have the reminders. So
Yeah.
I'm going to again try to be like what was it we were talking about? Being in the same boat. We overscheduling ourselves because we have so many things to do. But I think this is a year definitely a very good time to start is always now. So pick one habit that you need to improve. That's what I've been taught now. Pick one habit you need to improve. Work on that until that's improved. Then you pick up something else. Because the project manager and me like to take on everything. And again, you're going right back into the same state that you're trying to fix. So
Yeah.
it's a occupational hazard is what I have to call it. But I really do thank you guys for being here. I thank the audience for tuning in and definitely share this link. We're on both YouTube as well as Facebook because I know some people don't have Facebook accounts. So you can go on to the YouTube channel and subscribe as well as share this information because it's so rich. A word of encouragement. We always like to end the show with a word of encouragement. And I actually decided to reuse the one from last episode and it turns out to be so applicable to the one now. So the quote was, a flower does not think about competing with the flower next to it. It just blooms, right?
Yeah.
So we're encouraging everybody to just bloom.
Just
Don't worry about the oleander, the hibiscus, and the bougainvillea. You just bloom. And this was said by Zen Chin. So again, like our Facebook page, share any of our other videos you like to see. Everything is on there. So after the live broadcast, they're uploaded and they're there for your viewing pleasure. If you tuned in late, so you can go back and look at it again. And I am your host, Shaina Smith Archer, saying until next time, let's continue the change in conversation for a better Virgin Island. Have a good one.
Thank you.
thank you.
Bye.